And welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Glad you're here with us. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And this week we welcome in Oklahoma County Commissioner Brian Maughan.
Yes, we're really pleased to have Brian on. He's going to talk about what it's like to be a county commissioner, what kind of responsibilities he has. I'm sure with the recent flooding, his responsibilities have significantly increased, at least temporarily, and he's doing a grand job with the county commissioners. And we're really pleased he'd give us his time.
Brian Maughan, Oklahoma County Commissioner. Today's guest on The Verdict. Kent and I'll be back right after this.
Ryan Leonard for Attorney General, a former prosecutor and fighter who will lock up child predators and drug dealers. One of the first to call for a constitutional challenge to the Obama-Pelosi health care bill.
Like most Oklahomans, I'm concerned about the direction our country is headed. I'll fight to protect our families, and I will fight to defend our constitutional freedoms. And when Washington, D.C. overreaches, we'll push back and push back hard.
Ryan Leonard, protecting our families, protecting our freedoms.
The idea of sending American money out of our own economy these days for foreign oil is madness. Yet we're spending $25 billion a month on foreign oil. America's 100-year supply of natural gas can break this pattern and strengthen our economy. See how it can create jobs, generate clean electricity, fuel our cars, and protect our environment at chk.com. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Yeah, we're genuinely pleased today to have Brian Maughan, the County Commissioner of Oklahoma County, on with us today. We've not had Brian on before, and for that we apologize, but we do appreciate his appearance today. He's the County Commissioner from District 2 in Oklahoma County. He did his undergraduate work at Oklahoma City Community College, with three majors in journalism, broadcasting, and public relations. He previously worked for AT&T for a number of years as a public affairs consultant. He founded Marketing Dimensions, a consulting firm that I think he is still involved with today. In 2009, he began a 4-year term as a county commissioner from District 2. He's been very active in community affairs, both in Oklahoma City generally and in South Oklahoma City in particular. Been very active in a lot of activities out there, and we're sure pleased you'd give us some of your busy time.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
County Commissioner, how's that been the last, 7-8 months? I guess you've been involved?
Well, a year and a half now already.
Oh, has it been? I was thinking you're right, it was November of 2008, wasn't it? Yeah. Boy, time flies.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially when we're having natural disasters, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, if I could the only thing we're missing now is a hurricane and some locusts, I think. We've about covered all the other bases. So.
I know.
It's been a great experience, though, and I really have appreciated the opportunity to work with both the city and all the different municipalities that are in the district, and a lot of great people through those organizations that you mentioned, Rotary and so forth like that have formed some cooperative partnerships that we've done with the community. So I think we've kind of done some outside-the-box thinking down at the courthouse lately.
In general, how do you describe the duties and responsibilities of a county commissioner?
The standard stereotype is roads and bridges, but in Oklahoma County, it's really a lot more than that, and it's a peer of really no one else. I mean, there's no other county quite like ours, not only in size, but also the responsibilities. You know, we have multiple different departments that we oversee, ranging from juvenile justice to Oklahoma County Emergency Management, which we've utilized quite a bit lately. And also we have like the OSU Extension Center out there on 10th and Portland. So a lot of different areas of jurisdiction. Obviously, we're over the brick and mortar part of the jail, but the sheriff does the operation of it.
And how do you deal with the state government? Because I know a lot of the money from the state funnels through the county.
We do with, like in particular, the state Supreme Court gives us the court fund, which a lot of the court clerks' operations are funded out of, and we were just served notice a couple of weeks ago that we're probably not going to get that for fiscal year 11-12. So we're trying to figure out already 12 months out how we're going to absorb the financial shock that's no doubt getting ready to be handed down to us.
What's the population of Oklahoma County?
We have roughly about 200 and some thousand per district, so a little over 600,000 total.
Should it grow when the next census is completed?
I believe so, yeah.
Let me ask you about, we told our viewers you were from District 2, but I suspect a lot of our viewers won't know what District 2 means. Can you give a rough geographical description of your district?
Sure, it's a smiley face kind of across the southern third of Oklahoma County, which covers from Bethany to Wheatland, all throughout South Oklahoma City, Midwest City, Del City, going over to the Nuwala part that's in Oklahoma County up to Hera.
Wow, that's
It's
a lot of
big,
miles.
Big chunk.
Is the Air Force Base in your district?
I have all of Wiley Post, Tinker Air Force Base, and Will Rogers. Also have the state capitol and Tinker and the GM annex that we have in there. So we have all the major employers, and not only the state, the county, but it's all in District 2.
May I follow up a little bit on that? How are those districts determined? I know there are 3 county commissioners, and they have, I guess, districts 1 and 3, but how are the lines drawn?
The commissioners draw them up every 10 years, which we'll be doing in next spring, just like the city council and the legislature will do when we get the new census data. And they have to be balanced not only at the county level by population, but road miles are considered, ethnicity is considered, that's a federal requirement. And in the past, the commissioners have worked to try to balance out the number of institutions and things like maybe state facilities or other things that the county commissioners by law can assist, so that no one district is loaded up with too many.
I think people in general might be aware of the open meetings rule, which basically means that a majority of an elected body cannot get together outside of their normal elected time period with the assertion that they might be discussing how a vote might take place. But with county commissioners, it seems a little bit troublesome, because if there's only 3, that means that 2 of you cannot talk.
Right.
How does that work?
It doesn't work like it does in church, where 2 or more are gathered in one name. It's no excuse. I mean, even if we're praying, they don't want 2 of us talking. So
if you pass in the hallway,
we were just basically supposed to say hello. You know, we were able to be cordial to each other, but we go to great lengths, even for just the appearance of impropriety. We won't take the elevator at the same time. We try to not sit at the same table at functions. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but we really try to keep that to a minimum.
Yeah, is that a good thing or a bad thing in general?
Oh,
I understand it for 7 and 9 board groups, but it seems awful troublesome for a body of 3.
If you can manage, just think about if you had your household and you couldn't talk to your spouse, or you can't talk to your business partner in a small business. I mean, it would just seem impossible. And it obviously creates some bureaucracy, because we have to have staff that can work together since we cannot. That puts distance in between us, and obviously anything that you want to discuss, you just can only do it in the means of an open meeting.
Well, should they make an exception? Should the state Supreme Court say, in bodies of 3, this isn't working?
You know, I think that if they could ever prove that a decision was made outside of a public meeting, that should be prosecutable. But our decisions ultimately have to be made in a public meeting. That's the only place we have power. We don't possess it when we're just walking around. It's only when we're in session, just like the legislature or city council. And so I really think there should be some sort of measure passed to address commissioners being able to talk. It also affects the Corporation Commission. It's in the same boat.
Yeah, it seems to me it's different being able to talk on the one hand and making formal agreements about how you're going to vote on the other.
Right.
It seems to me that it's almost a commercial necessity that you be able to communicate and share ideas, even if you're not, and perhaps not talk about decisions, but talk about background facts.
Exactly. You can appreciate in particular staff issues. Those are sometimes extremely important. If you know an employee's going through an issue or whatever, you might not want to air that out in front of everybody in the public. And I think sometimes we get to a point where on performance issues and stuff, we have to let an employee go that if I think we could get together and talk to them, we could maybe have avoided those circumstances.
A lot of attention on the Oklahoma County Jail, and of course the county commissioners are very involved with that, and the funding issues that are presenting themselves today and in the future. How do you fall on the issues that are involved in the Oklahoma County Jail?
You know, I'm really proud of the $800,000 that we've spent to address those concerns that the Department of Justice outlined for us. And I'm proud not because that's an insignificant amount of money, but that it's a lot less than the price tag of building a new jail. And with the initial reports, we are just privy to the preliminary report so far of the most recent Department of Justice visit. It indicates that we may have in fact avoided needing to build a new jail entirely, which I think is money in the bank for Oklahoma County.
So the concern has been that the federal government might come in and take over the county jail, and it might raise the property rates of everyone that lives in Oklahoma County to pay for whatever improvements or changes they make. But what you're saying is that the proactive steps that the sheriff and the county commissioners have taken to address the needs of the jail might present itself where the federal government is not likely to come in. No guarantee, but they're not likely at this point, in your opinion.
Exactly right.
Okay, and so that the jail for the time being can continue operating with its current budgetary information and levels.
And from a public safety standpoint, the citizens can be rest assured that we've addressed some of those legitimate concerns that the Department of Justice had, and I think we run a more efficient jail with the sheriff's cooperation.
Now, are state inmates or federal inmates, are they housed in the Oklahoma County Jail at this time?
Currently, the federal inmates are not. We have some state inmates and those who have been, of course, just awaiting adjudication, and those who have been sentenced for a minor tenure in jail.
You've mentioned staff a couple of times. Can you tell our viewers generally what your staff consists of?
Sure. I have a great staff. I'm very proud of them. Steve Satterwhite's my chief deputy, and I chose to hire everybody straight from the private sector when I came in. Nobody came from government. A couple had government experience in their past, but everybody came directly from the private sector because we knew we were going to have to grapple with some budget shortfalls and some tough economic times right now, and I wanted to apply some business principles to it. It's a little hard because we're not in the business, of course, to make profit, but we're expected to balance budgets, and we're obviously having to deal with increased cost and less revenue all the time. And so we've had a real able team come in. I have a chief deputy, a second deputy, and one that works with the legislature and trying to address issues that we can, reduce services if need be and help with the way the county can operate. And a special projects coordinator who works exclusively to try to get some of these new innovative things we've been talking about off the ground, also finding grant money to finance it.
Brian Maughan is Oklahoma County Commissioner for District 2. He'll be back with another segment on The Verdict right after this.
I'm Mike Larson. I'm an artist, and I am Chickasaw. We were fortunate enough to start doing more and more work with the Chickasaws, largely because of Bill Addertubby. We developed, with his help and with his graces, a series of paintings on the Chickasaw elders. I would interview them, I would do sketches, we would talk about their history, some of it phenomenal, and then we would come away from that, go home, and I would do paintings. First thing I will look at when I look at a person is their eyes. You look at their eyes, you look at their hands, you can tell everything you need to about a person. These people portrayed to me strength and character, filled with an integrity and a joy of life. The wonderful thing about it, aside from the paintings, is the way that it brought me back into the Chickasaw family. It has made me more Chickasaw. It has made me more Chickasaw than I ever thought I could be.
In Oklahoma, with the technology that's being developed every day, it would be difficult to get much better than it is now, but I anticipate that it will.
Technology is always going to improve. It's always going to get better, and as it does, these fields will give up more and more of their natural resources.
I think with technology and the way they're doing it, it'll be a good, clean, environmental place, and I'm blessed to be here.
The oil and gas industry runs deep in our history and gives us a sense that we have a really strong future ahead of us.
Oklahoma County Commissioner Brian Maughan is today's guest on The Verdict. There's been an economic downturn now for a couple of years. How's Oklahoma County been affected, and do you see it on the upswing at this point?
In addition to the court fund, which we mentioned earlier, that is affected to some degree the entire operation of the county because it's such a large amount of money. We're talking about $602,000 that will be shorted coming in the next fiscal year that the Supreme Court Chief Justice has told us not to count on. Concrete and asphalt continue to rise, so the cost of construction is more, and the consumption tax that we take from the fuel pumps, which a lot of people are confused about how county government is funded. Ad valorem, your property taxes, are what handles the downtown and the court system and the jail and all that sort of stuff, but the roads are actually built by fuel tax that's on the pump. So it's extremely important that you buy gas not only in your city but within your county that you live in, because it's that money that's earmarked for the roads that will be in your county.
I didn't know that.
Well, what do you think are the major challenges facing the commission now? Not this coming year, but in the future?
You know, I think a lot of counties that are in a lot worse shape than Oklahoma County, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, we have a growth spurt going on in some of the more rural areas of Oklahoma County, which is going to continue to add.
In your district?
Yeah, in Hara and Choctaw in particular, building a lot of new homes out there that are nice homes, so they're going to be obviously very attractive to our ad valorem rolls, and that will help absorb some of the shockwave. But the health care is the huge thing that I think is going to be the big problem for not just these county commissioners, but those that are to come. We, in the county jail, for instance, spend about $450,000 a month for the health care of the inmates. A lot of people don't know the second we cuff a inmate, they are immediately the responsibility of the county as far as any of their problems with their teeth, and mental health, all kinds of problems that you might not think about. And obviously the cost of our employees in the health care went up $4 million, our premium, just this year.
Well, when you start looking at Oklahoma County in general and the number of elected positions, are they all up at the same time? Are they staggered? How does the election process work?
4 this time around, and the other 4 come up in the presidential cycle when I do.
And these are partisan elections?
That's correct.
And in general, they look after a wide variety of county sources. Has there been discussion about having fewer or more than 8 elected officials and having county commissioners hired to fill some of these responsibilities through the years?
I'm aware of some of those discussions, none that have been taken very seriously probably in terms of implementation. I think the big thing we grapple with is while the districts aren't getting any smaller or any larger, but they're becoming more populated, and we talked about the population a while ago. And so the number of constituent concerns, and obviously the flooding and different things that have occurred recently amplify those, and how we go deal with it with the cost of construction, the cost of health care. We're running them with fewer employees than we did, say, 10 years ago. So one area that I've tried to do is see what we can do with those sentenced to community service. I want to address the overcrowding issues that we sometimes face in the jail. Deadbeat dads, hot check writers, people who have DUIs, not hardened criminals, who really probably don't deserve to be in jail. They're not going to pay their creditors back if they're there. They're not going to be paying their child support back if they're in jail. They're going to lose their jobs, lose their houses, but I want them to pay. And so we've asked the courts to work with me, and we're doing a pilot program called SHINE, which stands for Start Helping Impacted Neighborhoods Everywhere. And we're sentencing those to community service so they can go out and actually help do stuff that we used to use road crews to do. And that, of course, is free to the taxpayers.
A couple of years ago, Oklahoma County taxpayers voted to support the purchase of the GM facility, trying to facilitate work with the Air Force. How's that worked out?
It's been tremendous. You know, we've had a number of new jobs come to not only the state, but particularly they're housed in the county. They're taking residents in all kinds of different counties around and commuting to Oklahoma City, where they're going to work there. And I anticipate we're going to be adding even more jobs in the next year or two.
It's been a big success, hasn't it?
Big success.
Yeah. David Prater was on several weeks ago and talked about the SHINE program a little bit. I guess the district attorney's office is supportive of the SHINE program.
Been instrumental in it. Yeah, David Prater and Bob Ravitz, public defenders, actually it's his brainchild.
Well, if it comes from Bob Ravitz, it's pretty well thought out, I suspect. Let me ask you about something that's occurred to me. Does every county in Oklahoma have 3 county commissioners, or does the number vary?
That's a constitutional makeup, yes, and it's all 3 districts are again balanced by the population and stuff, and that's why there are 3 for every county.
But Oklahoma County is the largest county, and it has 3. And I don't know what the smallest county is, but the smallest county in Oklahoma also has 3.
But our pay is based on population, so, and the operation that they have is obviously just the budget of their county. So some of them are really just like city council members. They're truly private citizens who go and serve almost in an honorary capacity.
If you could design the county commissioner system from just with a blank slate, in Oklahoma County, would you come up with 3, or would you come up with 5 or 7, or how would you do it?
Well, you know what's amazing is that we run the state with 13 district attorneys, and in 77 counties we have to have 3 county commissioners. So I probably err on more of the side of consolidation than to expand it, actually.
What about the idea of consolidating services between the city and the county? That's been discussed, and it's been semi-successful in some other metropolitan areas.
Well, as you know, you and I have been trying to work together on some partnerships. Also, Councilman Pete White and Meg Salyer have been instrumental in the Oklahoma City areas, but also all the other municipalities have been working with their elected leaderships as well in trying to partner, because my opinion is a taxpayer is a taxpayer is a taxpayer, and they're just a city and county and state taxpayer. It's the same person. And so anytime we can partner together to eliminate services and duplicity in government, I'm all for it. So we've been working really hard to try to do that, not only through the SHINE program, but also just seeing which one of us can more cost effectively address the issue.
Greatest challenge facing county government over the next 10 years, what would it be?
Probably health care. I think just in general that's going to be a problem for employers and also for the state and government employees.
Does your office get any benefit out of federal stimulus funds for roads and bridges?
And then our effort, we were not successful in getting that. And of course, you know, not stimulus related, but just FEMA related. We've had even challenges. You know, President Obama just declined the flooding for the FEMA relief there. And, you know, that's been pretty regrettable, because while the individual storms might not have merited the level that FEMA calls, it's happening, as we keep noting, in the same area. And you'd like to think that an accumulative effort might even have more consideration than an individual effort.
I read something recently that the Lightning Creek floods, 2 in 1 week, several weeks ago, were awful, of course, and the picture showed that, but they were not as bad as they would have been had not the county work in the city a number of years ago improved Lightning Creek. Is that your view about it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's far better. The concrete walls, I think, along the creek beds have proven to be an extremely smart decision. I know that was even somewhat controversial. Aesthetically, it's a hard challenge for us because we fight graffiti on them and gang activity going on down there and stuff, but from the flooding standpoint, it diverted that water rapidly.
Yeah, the engineering worked, but you just, you know, remember when fronts used to pass over the city? Well, you know, it seems like in 2010 they just decided to stay a while. They just get right over and they just stop.
I heard that's your fault.
Yeah, well, there are others that would agree. Brian, thanks so much for coming on the show, and thanks for your service to Oklahoma County.
Well, anybody has anything, graffiti removal or any kind of thing they need, they can always call my office, 713-1502.
All right, we will appreciate you coming back on a future show. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
guys.
Brian.
Thank
All right.
you.
Brian Maughan, today's guest on The Verdict. Brian is the County Commissioner for District 2 in Oklahoma County. Kent and I'll have a final word right after this.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. a place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're wrapping up the show today with Oklahoma County Commissioner Brian Maughan. Brian is a breath of fresh air down at county government.
Well, he's obviously a very capable, competent young man who's got his hands around the problems there and doing a grand job with them. We really appreciate, as much as he's got to do, him giving us his time.
Absolutely, and Brian was fortunate, or I guess courteous and generous enough to give out his phone number if people have issues in District 2 or they'd like direction on how to resolve those issues. His phone number is 405-713-1502. And of course, you can always go to our website and tell us about a guest or a topic you'd like to see discussed on an upcoming edition of The Verdict. That website information is theverdict.tv. That's theverdict.tv. Get on the internet, type in that address, and tell us about someone that you'd like to see face the always tough questioning of Kent Myers and Mick Cornett.
Really withering examination.
Until then, we will see you next time on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.